This video covers every banned card in Historic Brawl as of January 5th, 2023. Along with listing the cards, I'll be covering the official announcements or statements I could find relating to the ban. I won't be covering cards that were banned and are now unbanned in this video. I'll also be doing my best to include as little personal input or opinion as possible, as I'd like this video to serve as a resource for fellow players of the format. As of today, there are 18 cards banned in Historic Brawl. This list includes 5 creatures, 3 artifacts, 3 sorceries, 2 instants, 2 enchantments, 2 planeswalkers, and 1 land. These cards are, in alphabetical order, Agent of Treachery, Chalice of the Void, Channel, Demonic Tutor, Drannith Magistrate, Field of the Dead, Gideon's Intervention, Lutri the Spellchaser, Meddling Mage, Natural Order, Nexus of Fate, Oko, Thief of Crowns, Phyrexian Revoker, Pithing Needle, Ruined Halo, Sorcerous Spyglass, Tainted Pact, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon. We'll be covering them in the order they were banned. That said, 2 brief notes. First, Historic Brawl didn't receive a permanent queue until July 29th of 2021. Many of the bans before that point in time were bans in the Brawl format that were then carried over into Historic Brawl. And secondly, I've tried to use the date of the announcements as the date of the bans. However, in the case of some bans, there never was an official announcement. In those cases, I've tried to use the unofficial announcements, such as tweets from Wizards of the Coast employees, or the date of various patch notes being released. The first card to be banned in Historic Brawl was Sorcerous Spyglass on May 10th, 2018, announced in a write-up by Gavin Berry. Sorcerous Spyglass was banned in Brawl with the following statement. The second card to be added to the banned list today is Sorcerous Spyglass. This card is driven more by player feedback in the spirit of the format than one-on-one metagame data. Sorcerous Spyglass's low colorless mana cost has made it a ubiquitous and disliked card, especially in multiplayer. One of the unique and beloved features of Brawl is the ability to use a planeswalker as a commander. Sorcerous Spyglass provides an efficient way for any deck to shut down planeswalker commanders, often before they even hit the battlefield. As a brief note, the first card banned at the time was Baral, Chief of Compliance, who is now unbanned. The second card banned was Nexus of Fate on February 14th, an banned and restricted announcement with no specific author. There's a full article on the banning of the card, but to summarize, Nexus of Fate was banned in all best of 1 formats in MTG Arena for play disruption and not for being seen as overpowered. Here are a few quotes regarding the card. Nexus of Fate doesn't really fit any of the power-based criteria for banning. While it made a bit of a splash leading up to the Pro Tour 25 anniversary and the re-emergence of Turbo Fog as a standard legal deck archetype, it only appeared in 6 out of the 165 standard deck lists, none of which made it to top 4. We are mindful that much of the frustration surrounding Nexus of Fate comes from unenjoyable games and subpar viewing experiences, and not with the overall power level of the card or complexity with rules interactions. Nexus of Fate probably has the longest write-up of any banned card in this list, and I'd encourage you to read it if you're curious. I think it gives good insight into how and when Wizards decides to ban cards. The third card banned was Oko, Thief of Crowns, on November 18th, 2019. This was announced in a write-up by Ian Duke with the following statement. Oko, Thief of Crowns has also reduced metagame diversity and diversity of gameplay in Standard by shutting off build-around creatures and artifacts. Ultimately, Oko's power level has proven higher than what is healthy for the current metagame, and higher than intended for future environments, including Theros Beyond Death and Forward. And for similar reasons outlined in the Standard discussion, and to bring Tabletop and Arena Brawl into alignment, Oko Thief of Crowns is also banned in Tabletop Brawl. Interestingly enough, this actually makes Oko the longest running ban on a commander in Historic Brawl. The fourth card banned was probably Meddling Mage. I say probably because I have not been able to find an actual date of the ban. Meddling Mage was released into Magic Arena on March 12th, 2020, and sources note it as being banned by May 18th, 2020. Fortunately, we do have a specific stated reason for the ban, as an article on July 29th, 2021 states as part of a larger discussion around perpetual mechanics that locking out a commander is why Meddling Mage and Sorcerous Spyglass are banned in Brawl. From here on out, the bans pick up pace a bit, and also include one of the strangest bans in Magic history. Lutri the Spellchaser was banned on April 13th, 2020. There's a lot that can be said about Lutri, and the fact that this is a card that was banned before it was even ever released. The reason for the ban is stated in an article by Ian Duke. In the case of the companion card Lutri the Spellchaser, the deck building restriction is to play Singleton, with no more than 1 copy of each non-land card in your deck. The idea is to reward a player for choosing a diversity of different cards rather than multiple copies of the most efficient card for the job. This makes a lot of sense in most formats, where it often dramatically alters the way a player would choose to build their deck in exchange for starting the game with an extra powerful card. In Brawl, however, the singleton deck building restriction is already built into the format rules. This means that there is no trade-off against how one would normally build a deck. Any deck including both blue and red would benefit from including Lutri at no deck building cost. This isn't in line with the design intent of the companion mechanic, and we believe it would create a large imbalance between decks capable of including Lutri and those that can't. Therefore, we've decided to begin Ikoria's release with Lutri, the Spellchaser banned in Brawl. Ikoria has another card on the ban list, a bit one that didn't start on it. Drannith Magistrate was banned on May 18, 2020, in an announcement by Ian Duke with the following statement. Part of our philosophy for Brawl is that it shouldn't be easy for a single card to completely shut down a wide class of commanders. An example of us acting on this philosophy in the past was banning Sorcerous Spyglass. We feel that Drannith Magistrate falls into this category, and generally takes away from the fun and self-expression that comes from building around a commander in Brawl, so we are banning it. The next two bans actually happened at the same time. Ruined Halo and Gideon's Intervention were both banned as of August 13th, 2020, with the announcement taking place on August 4th, 2020. There is no specific statement from Wizards on why these cards were banned in the article. However, going back to the statements about somewhat similar cards, it is likely they were banned for violating the philosophy of it shouldn't be easy for a single card to completely shut down a wide class of commanders. Strictly speaking, however, this is purely conjecture. If you happen to find a source with explicitly stated reasons for these bans, please let me know in the comments. There were no more bans in the format for almost 8 months, until with the release of Strixhaven, and more specifically Strixhaven's Mystical Archive, 4 cards were banned on April 14th, 2021. These cards were Channel, Demonic Tutor, Natural Order, and Tainted Pact. Like with the previous bans, there was no specific reason given for these. My assumption would be that they were banned for their high power level. Again, this is just conjecture based on looking at these cards and their bans in other formats. The next ban took place on September 24th, 2021, and was confirmed on October 1st, 2021 by the Wizards customer support Twitter account. The ban in question was for Pithing Needle. The Twitter account stated, "We would like to acknowledge that with the release of Innistrad, Midnight Hunt, the card Pithing Needle is banned in both Brawl and Historic Brawl. Due to its function, this card can completely disable certain commanders in a way that we do not condone on these digital formats." There would be no further bans in the format until December 8th, 2021, where 3 cards were banned: Agent of Treachery, Field of the Dead, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon. The ban announcement by Wizards of the Coast states, "These cards have been overly prevalent in main decks, and each one either exploits or pushes against one of the primary elements of the format, gameplay focusing on a single important permanent, singleton deck building, or color restrictions. Although rebalancing is now a tool at our disposal, we intend to preserve the spirit of any rebalanced card. For these 3 cards in Historic Brawl, this still presents a problem, as rebalancing would likely either result in an unsatisfying card or be ineffective at addressing the issue. In cases such as this, bans are still warranted. Unfortunately, we don't get a deep dive on these cards and to what extent each of them violated these philosophies. I have my own theories, but I don't think any of these bans are clear-cut enough to be worth sharing. Just over 10 months would pass before the next ban, and it shares the Being Banned in a Weird Way trophy with Pithing Needle. Chalice of the Void was banned on October 10th, 2022, via a set of patch notes. There's no reason given, just Chalice of the Void has been banned in the Historic Brawl format, but given the card and the pattern of bans we've seen before, I don't think the conclusion that it was likely banned for violating the principle of it shouldn't be easy for a single card to completely shut down a wide class of commanders is incorrect. While this is a guess, it's likely to be a fairly accurate one. Which brings us to the last card on this list, Phyrexian Revoker. Phyrexian Revoker was banned on November 9th, 2022, with the following statement. Like other effects that disable named cards directly, Revoker's ability to turn off an opposing commander goes against the intent of this format. And so that's it, the full list and exact reasons given for every card that's currently banned in Historic Brawl. I've attached a read-only link to a spreadsheet in the description of the video, and that spreadsheet contains links and sources for all these quotes. If you'd like more details, this is a good place to start. This video took a while to research and make, so if you enjoyed it, please give it a like because I need the dopamine. Additionally, I make a bunch of other videos about Historic Brawl, mostly my own ridiculous decks, and I stream with new decks twice a week, so if that seems like something you'd enjoy, please consider subscribing to the channel.